season. Just what are
Yeah.
your plans for the off season and possibly playing or just doing individual workouts?
Yeah, I mean, probably take a little bit of a break here, just for maybe a week. I don't really want to lose a ton of the stuff I've worked on, and just trying to get my body back to full health. There's some USA basketball stuff I need to get ready.
Imagine this, the biggest name in basketball, barely a year into her rookie deal, dropping a quiet ultimatum on her own team. Sounds like something straight out of a sports fantasy, right? But nope, this shockwave is very real and shaking the entire WNBA to its core. Reports are flying, and there's no denying it anymore. Caitlin Clark isn't just the superstar guard everyone knows. She's become a straight-up powerhouse. Word is, she hit her franchise with a serious threat to walk out if two specific players weren't kept from hitting free agency. This isn't just a favorite player wanting her buddies back. This is a bold power play that's got the Indiana Fever's front office scrambling. It's the kind of move that shows just how deep Clark's influence really runs behind the scenes. And this whole situation, it's not even about her contract. It's about two teammates, Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull, who were supposedly about to get cut loose. Then suddenly, a secret demand lands on the table, flipping everything upside down. But before we unpack this wild mess, we gotta realize just how historic this whole moment is. Caitlin Clark didn't just enter the WNBA. She stormed in like a one-woman revolution. Back at Iowa, she shattered college viewership records, turned women's basketball into primetime television, and built a global fan base overnight. When the Indiana Fever drafted her #1 overall, expectations weren't high. They were sky high. Overnight, this team went from empty seats to sold-out arenas. Merch flew off the shelves. TV ratings went crazy. Clark wasn't just hooping, she became the face of a movement, the driving force behind women's basketball breaking into the mainstream in a way nobody saw coming. What nobody saw coming was just how fast Caitlin Clark flipped her star power into real control inside the franchise. Usually it takes years, championships, MVPs, maybe a few all-star nods before a player starts calling the shots. But Clark, she's doing it after just one season. That's wild. And get this, it's not like the Fever just won a title or made a deep playoff run. Nope, they didn't even come close. This leverage isn't built on trophies. It's built on pure influence, pure money power, and the undeniable fact that she's the WNBA's most valuable asset. And the craziest part, she knows exactly how powerful she is. This whole storm started because of one cold truth: money. The second the season wrapped, the Fever got hit with a harsh financial reality check. For 2026, only 3 players have guaranteed spots: Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Michaela Timpson. Everyone else? Free agents, including fan favorites like Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham. These two were suddenly sitting on the edge, ready to walk away unless something changed fast. Publicly, management was all smiles, saying they wanted everyone back. But behind closed doors, the math didn't lie. Someone big was going to have to go to balance the books, and the first name on that list hit like a punch. That's when things started to get explosive. To really get why this turned into such chaos, you've got to understand how rough the WNBA's salary setup really is. The 2025 salary cap sits around $1.46 million per team. Yeah, million with an M for an entire 12-player roster. That's less than what some NBA benchwarmers make by themselves. And even the biggest WNBA stars, the top-tier talent, can only max out at about $241,000 a year. That's the highest paycheck for the best in the world. It's wild when you think about the kind of spotlight and pressure these players carry every single night. Most WNBA players pull in somewhere between $60,000 and $100,000 a year. Barely enough to scrape by, which is why so many of them have to play overseas in the offseason just to make a real living. That paycheck pressure turns every single contract into a high-stakes decision. One wrong move, even keeping one extra role player, can throw the entire salary balance out of whack. It's a brutal system where every dollar counts, and one signature can flip the whole roster upside down. So when the Indiana Fever's front office sat down to do the math, they hit a wall, fast. On one side, you've got Caitlin Clark, the brightest star in the league, sitting at the maximum salary cap. Then there's Aaliyah Boston, the 2023 Rookie of the Year and another rising superstar, also commanding serious cash. Add Kelsey Mitchell, their veteran all-star guard and longtime scoring leader, and that's already a heavy financial lineup. And now, the team's being pushed to keep both Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham, two players who prove they can deliver and rightfully want fair money too. The problem? The numbers just don't add up. Something or someone had to give. And that's when the insiders started whispering about a chilling plan behind closed doors. The Fever's front office, sources say, was ready to quietly let Lexie Hull walk away as a restricted free agent. They figured another team would throw her a big offer, and instead of matching it, they'd just let her go. Cold move, right? It was a calculated, silent, cost-cutting play, a move designed to save money without anyone noticing. The execs thought it would all happen quietly during the offseason. No drama, no backlash. But they seriously underestimated how plugged in Caitlin Clark really was. That under-the-table plan, that quiet betrayal of a player who had stepped up when the stars were down, ended up lighting the fuse for a massive behind-the-scenes showdown that changed everything. Lexie Hull's story hits hard once you really look at it. A second-round draft pick back in 2022, nobody expected her to make serious noise. Her rookie year, mostly spent on the bench, barely averaging 3.4 points per game. But fast forward to 2024, and everything flipped. When injuries tore through the Fever's lineup, Hull didn't back down. She stepped up big time. She turned into one of the league's deadliest three-point shooters, drilling over 40% from deep. That sharp shooting gave Caitlin Clark the spacing she needed to work her magic. On top of that, Hull became a reliable defender, the kind of player who hustles every possession, puts the team first, and never complains. She went from an overlooked bench piece to a key reason the Fever became relevant again. And how did the front office repay her? By getting ready to let her walk without a fight. They treated her like a replaceable number on a spreadsheet, just another financial adjustment. Cold, right? After everything she gave that team, she was about to be tossed aside for budget reasons. Then there's Sophie Cunningham, adding even more fire to this drama. She wasn't even originally with the Fever. She came mid-season in a trade from the Phoenix Mercury, where she was a total fan favorite and a gritty role player. The move looked like a masterstroke at first. The Fever got a veteran with playoff experience, someone who could guide their young core, and Cunningham delivered right away. Her chemistry with Clark, instant. She brought leadership, toughness, and clutch buckets when the team needed them most. The energy between them, both on and off the court, was undeniable. But here's the catch. Sophie's contract was up too. As an unrestricted free agent, she faced the harsh reality of possibly being a one-season rental. Brought in for a playoff push, then dropped when the money dried up. That's when the whispers started swirling. Rumors spread fast. Insiders claimed Clark's camp had stepped in, demanding an immediate review of the team's roster strategy. The message was loud and clear. This wasn't just about friendships or loyalty anymore. This was about power, control, and who really runs the Indiana Fever behind closed doors. This wasn't some friendly sit-down about player growth. It was a full-blown intervention, according to insiders. Sources say Caitlin Clark turned up the pressure on management, making it crystal clear that her closest teammates weren't going anywhere, no matter what it cost. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a demand. And once that message hit the front office, the whole atmosphere shifted fast. Suddenly, rumors exploded. Whispers of private, closed-door meetings between Clark and general manager Amber Cox started swirling. Talks about core preferences and chemistry priorities became the new buzz inside the organization. The message behind those meetings was unmistakable. Trade away my people to save money, and you'll blow up my entire vision for this franchise. What makes Clark's timing so wild is that this didn't go down mid-season, when emotions and adrenaline can cloud decisions. No, this happened in the cold, calculated quiet of the offseason, when the front office usually calls every shot. That's what made this move so bold. Clark basically took over the team's entire free agency game plan before it even started. She didn't wait for management to reveal their strategy or see what deals came through for Hull and Cunningham. She stepped in early and made her stance clear. And then she drew a line in the sand and dared them to cross it. That's not player input, that's player control. It's a power move on another level, especially for someone who's just one season into her pro career. Now everyone's talking, comparing Clark's influence to the kind of pull LeBron James has in the NBA. That's right, they're calling it LeBron-level leverage. Her mission is simple but sharp: stability. She wants her core trio, her trusted crew, Clark, Hull, and Cunningham, locked in and ready for a title run. As Cunningham once said herself, we're building something bigger than a season. And now, it's clear Clark plans to make sure that vision doesn't fall apart, no matter who she has to challenge to keep it alive. When you've got a once-in-a-generation player like Caitlin Clark, you better believe she's earned the right to have a voice in how things run. She's not just shaping games anymore, she's shaping the system. Clark has the kind of power that could completely redefine the WNBA, and now she's turning that same power inward, reshaping her own franchise from the top down. And get this, it actually seems to be working. But don't mistake this for some warm story about loyalty and friendship. It's not. This is a ruthless power play with a heavy price tag. Every big move has a cost, and in Clark's case, it might mean sacrificing another key star just to keep her inner circle secure. Now let's talk about the LeBron James comparison, because it's not just talk. It fits in ways that are almost eerie. LeBron changed the game when it came to player influence. He's shaped rosters everywhere he's gone. From his early Cleveland days to forming the Big Three in Miami to pushing for the Kevin Love trade during his Cleveland return, and even in LA with the Lakers, his say has rewritten team lineups for years. But here's the catch. LeBron earned that level of power. 4 championships, 10 finals appearances, and nearly 20 years of dominance. He proved time and again that he knows how to build a winning roster. Clark, on the other hand, is trying to flex that same kind of control after just one pro season. No titles yet, no deep playoff experience, and no real track record of scouting or talent evaluation. Just pure influence, built entirely on her star power and her value to the league. And that nickname, Tres Leches, it's not just a fun label for a trio. It actually says a lot about how Clark thinks the game. It's a strategy in disguise, a formula she believes in. She wants shooters who can space the floor, defenders who can cover for her when needed, and teammates who instinctively know how to play off her insane court vision. It's not just about friendship. It's about building the perfect ecosystem for her game to shine, and she's making sure the team bends to fit that vision. Hull and Cunningham fit Caitlin Clark's style like a glove. They might not be the flashiest or most talented players in the league, but they're exactly the type Clark needs for her system to work. She's basically telling management straight up, I know how I win, I know who helps me win, and you need to trust my call, even if I'm still technically a rookie. That's confidence on another level. But with that boldness comes a huge risk, because this move is asking the franchise to take a massive leap of faith in her judgment. The problem? The domino effect it's already triggering. The Fever's front office publicly said their top priority this offseason was re-signing all-star guard Kelsey Mitchell, the team's longtime scoring leader. But here's the kicker. Keeping both Cunningham and Hull while trying to match any outside offers will eat up nearly all of the Fever's already razor-thin salary cap. Clark's loyalty to her inner circle has now become a direct threat to retaining one of the franchise's biggest pillars. She's essentially forcing management into a brutal choice: either protect her chemistry and crew, or hold on to the veteran all-star who carried the team for 7 straight seasons. This isn't just a disagreement, it's a cold war of leverage, with serious financial and emotional consequences for the Fever's future. And that brings us to Kelsey Mitchell, whose story is at the heart of this conflict, because she represents the real human cost of Clark's power move. Mitchell has been the heart and soul of this franchise since being drafted 2nd overall back in 2018. She's averaged over 17 points a game across her career, made an all-star team, and stayed loyal through every losing season, every rebuild, every low moment. She was the face of the Fever before Caitlin Clark showed up, the one keeping fans in the stands and giving them something to believe in during the dark years. She's been the leader, the mentor, the steady hand guiding younger players, and she's done it all with professionalism and pride. But now, after years of putting this team on her back, she might be pushed out. Not because of her performance, but because the new superstar wants to keep her circle tight. That's the harsh side of power. And in Indiana, it's suddenly tearing the locker room in two. The wild part about all this? Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark should have been the dream duo. On paper, they're made to dominate together. Mitchell's an elite scorer who can create her own shot from anywhere, the perfect secondary weapon to feed off Clark's slick playmaking. Together, they could have formed one of the most dangerous backcourts in the league, a 1-2 punch that would keep defenses guessing every single possession. But basketball isn't just about numbers or highlight reels. It's about chemistry, and that's where things get messy. If Clark doesn't feel that same natural connection with Mitchell that she shares with Hull and Cunningham, the partnership just doesn't click. Off-court friendship, locker room trust, and on-court rhythm all matter. And if that bond's not there, then Mitchell's loyalty and long-term grind suddenly don't mean much in the eyes of team politics. In short, Clark's choosing vibes over resume, chemistry over credentials. And now, she's making the whole organization do the same. That's a bold stance. but it's also shaking up everything the WNBA's been trying to build for years. See, this situation goes way deeper than one team's roster drama. It touches the heart of player empowerment in women's sports. For decades, WNBA players have been fighting tooth and nail for more control over their own careers, better pay, better conditions, and more say in how their teams are built. They've always looked to the NBA as the model, where superstars openly influence trades, push for roster changes, and even call shots from the locker room. And now, one of the league's brightest new stars is doing exactly that, and it's splitting opinions fast. Some fans and players are cheering Clark on, saying she's finally showing the kind of assertiveness women's sports has long deserved. They see her as someone breaking old norms and demanding the tools to win. But others, they're not so sure. Critics worry this new star power era could tear apart locker rooms, disrespect veterans like Mitchell, and create instability, where one player's personal circle ends up outweighing the entire team's balance. And beneath it all, there's a clear generational shift happening. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player. She's part of a new wave of athletes who grew up watching NBA icons build their own empires and control their destinies. Now, she's bringing that same mentality into the WNBA, and not everyone's ready for it. This new generation of athletes grew up watching LeBron James build the Miami super team, seeing Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving force their way to Brooklyn, and watching James Harden demand and get multiple trades. They learned one thing fast: you don't sit quietly and hope loyalty pays off anymore. This era doesn't believe in waiting around for organizations to do the right thing. They believe in taking control early, setting their own terms, and treating their careers like businesses that need hands-on management every single day. And that's exactly what Caitlin Clark is doing right now. She's not waiting years to earn influence the old school way. She's claiming it immediately, using her star power, market value, and massive cultural reach to make herself impossible to ignore. She knows the weight her name carries, and she's cashing in on it right now. But here's where it gets even wilder. This internal fever drama is just one small part of a much bigger storm. The entire WNBA is on edge, bracing for what could turn into a full-blown financial crisis that's about to shake the whole league. The current collective bargaining agreement, CBA, is set to expire on October 31st, and if new terms aren't reached soon, players could be facing a lockout or strike. That uncertainty has every front office sweating. Teams can't plan their long-term budgets, they don't know what next season's salary rules will look like, and the financial future of the league is basically sitting in the dark. And that's exactly why Clark's demands hit so hard right now. She's cutting through all that financial fog and saying, "Lock in my people now, before everything freezes up." It's a bold, high-stakes play designed to secure her core before the whole league possibly hits pause. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, the players' union is pushing for major upgrades. They want real salary raises, better travel setups, improved healthcare benefits, and a bigger cut of league revenue. And the league office, they're negotiating with pressure from all sides, standing in front of record-breaking numbers. Viewership is up, attendance is booming, sponsorship deals are flooding in. The WNBA has never been more visible. And yet, right at its peak moment of growth, the entire system feels one negotiation away from chaos. Even with all the hype and booming attention, actual profitability still slips through the fingers of most WNBA teams. That's the uncomfortable truth. The league's cultural momentum is sky high, but the money side of things, still catching up. This gap creates a tense, complicated negotiation where both sides, the players and the league, have solid arguments and real frustrations. And if those CBA talks collapse, the entire 2026 season could be hanging by a thread. That's why locking in contracts now is both more crucial and more dangerous than ever before. And right in the middle of that storm is Caitlin Clark, making her boldest move yet. She's basically telling the Fever front office, don't wait for the CBA to settle. Don't sit on your hands trying to protect future flexibility. Lock in my people now. We'll figure out the rest later. It's a fearless strategy that could either be genius or a total disaster, depending on how the league's financial cards fall. If the CBA negotiations end in a lockout or a huge shift in salary rules, Clark's push could blow up in her face, maybe even trap the Fever in tough long-term deals. But on the flip side, if she's right and the market prices skyrocket under a new CBA, she'll look like a mastermind for locking in her trio early. It's a high-risk, high-reward gamble, the kind of move only a player with her star power could even attempt. And how the front office reacts says everything about the shifting power in Indiana. Sources say General Manager Amber Cox has held multiple meetings with Clark and her camp, not brushing her off, but really listening, taking her opinions seriously and weighing them like they came from another exec in the room. This isn't the classic, you're just a player, stay in your lane situation. Not even close. The Fever clearly understand how critical Clark is to their identity, their revenue, and their entire brand. Losing her, whether through an actual trade or even through burnout and frustration, would be catastrophic. So what are they doing? They're bending, reshuffling priorities, reworking budgets, and rethinking choices they thought were set in stone. Clark's not being treated like an employee anymore. She's being treated like a partner in running the organization. It's a power dynamic we almost never see in women's sports, and it shows just how far the WNBA has evolved and how far Caitlin Clark is willing to push that evolution to keep her vision alive. But not everyone's celebrating the Fever's decision to give Caitlin Clark that much pull. Some see a darker side to this move. Critics are warning that by giving in to Clark's demands, Indiana might be walking straight into a dangerous precedent, one where a single player, no matter how talented or marketable, ends up with veto power over every major roster call. That's not just bold, it's risky business. People are already asking the hard questions. What happens next season if Clark clashes with a coach? What if she wants a trade for someone she doesn't vibe with? What if her personal preferences end up hurting the team's long-term competitiveness? Once a franchise allows a player to dictate moves through quiet pressure or not-so-subtle threats, it's almost impossible to walk that power back. The hierarchy changes forever. Right now, it looks like the Fever front office might be making a short-term play to keep their superstar happy. But in doing so, they could be planting seeds for future chaos. It's the kind of governance problem that could haunt the franchise for years down the line if boundaries aren't set soon. And here's another real question. Is Clark's basketball judgment even ready for that kind of authority? She's a once-in-a-generation player, no doubt about it. But playing the game and building a team are two totally different skills. History's full of legends who dominated on the court but flopped when it came to front office decision-making. Look at Michael Jordan, for example, one of the greatest to ever touch a ball, but his time owning the Charlotte Hornets, a long list of questionable draft picks and rough personnel calls, or Magic Johnson, whose brief run in the Lakers front office had its bright spots but also a few confusing moves. The truth is, even all-time greats don't always make great evaluators. The instincts that win games don't always win boardroom battles. So when Clark throws her weight behind keeping Hull and Cunningham, nobody knows if she's being sharp or sentimental. She could be protecting two players who truly make her system thrive. Or she could be making a decision based on loyalty and comfort, not pure basketball logic. And the fans, they're split right down the middle. Her biggest supporters are all in, praising her for taking control, saying she's finally proving that women athletes don't have to just smile and wait their turn. They argue this is what empowerment looks like, a woman athlete demanding respect and calling her own shots. But even as her fans cheer her boldness, others can't help but wonder, has the line between leadership and overreach already been crossed? But not everyone's celebrating the Fever's decision to give Caitlin Clark that much pull. Some see a darker side to this move. Critics are warning that by giving in to Clark's demands, Indiana might be walking straight into a dangerous precedent. One where a single player, no matter how talented or marketable, ends up with veto power over every major roster call. That's not just bold, it's risky business. People are already asking the hard questions. What happens next season if Clark clashes with a coach? What if she wants a trade for someone she doesn't vibe with? What if her personal preferences end up hurting the team's long-term competitiveness? Once a franchise allows a player to dictate moves through quiet pressure or not-so-subtle threats, it's almost impossible to walk that power back. The hierarchy changes forever. Right now, it looks like the Fever front office might be making a short-term play to keep their superstar happy. But in doing so, they could be planting seeds for future chaos. It's the kind of governance problem that could haunt the franchise for years down the line if boundaries aren't set soon. And here's another real question. Is Clark's basketball judgment even ready for that kind of authority? She's a once-in-a-generation player, no doubt about it. But playing the game and building a team are two totally different skills. History's full of legends who dominated on the court but flopped when it came to front office decision-making. Look at Michael Jordan, for example. One of the greatest to ever touch a ball, but his time owning the Charlotte Hornets? A long list of questionable draft picks and rough personnel calls? Or Magic Johnson, whose brief run in the Lakers' front office had its bright spots but also a few confusing moves. The truth is, even all-time greats don't always make great evaluators. The instincts that win games don't always win boardroom battles. So when Clark throws her weight behind keeping Hull and Cunningham, nobody knows if she's being sharp or sentimental. She could be protecting two players who truly make her system thrive. Or she could be making a decision based on loyalty and comfort, not pure basketball logic. And the fans, they're split right down the middle. Her biggest supporters are all in, praising her for taking control, saying she's finally proving that women athletes don't have to just smile and wait their turn. They argue this is what empowerment looks like. A woman athlete demanding respect and calling her own shots. But even as her fans cheer her boldness, others can't help but wonder. Has the line between leadership and overreach already been crossed? Has Caitlin Clark just redefined player power forever? Or is this the start of a locker room storm that could shake the Indiana Fever to its core? What do you think? Is Clark making boss moves or breaking team balance? Drop your thoughts below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment to keep this conversation going. Because this story's far from over, and the next chapter might be even more explosive.